for the record, Keith Selman, interim city manager. I have quite a few items to go through today.
All right.
So if you'd bear with me. And to lead off is very good news. This is about as good as news as it gets for a municipality. We had previously, under our general obligation credit, had been at a negative. In other words, we were still a AA2, but we were at a negative outlook, and that outlook has been improved to stable. So it doesn't get much better than that for the municipality. That's your credit rating. That is the means by which you finance. That's how you get your good interest rates and so forth.
Is the media people up?
They're all over this, Mayor.
All right. Julie, did you hear that? All right, good. Okay.
A municipality doesn't get better news than that.
All right, good.
We also, the next item I want to talk about is the litter critter. We are moving forward with that. That program is out there and available to the public, and we want the public to be aware that it's out there. This Friday, we have two elements of it. There's a trailer and a litter critter. Both can be mobilized on any given weekend, and there will be a show and tell, sort of, on the trailer this Friday, September 28th at 10 o'clock. At the Solid Waste Services Department. So any neighborhood group out there that's keen on doing that, contact our Solid Waste Division, and they can coordinate that. We do not man it, though. Another one is mosquito spraying. We do have a map here on mosquitoes. Thank you. As everyone in Texas knows, but also particularly here in Corpus with the rains, we've had some mosquitoes. We are continuing to exercise the vector control. What our guys do is they put the traps out and then they're spraying based on the traps and the amount of mosquitoes that are detected in a particular area. And on Monday, which was yesterday, routes 9, 10, and 12, which is the downtown area. Those were sprayed yesterday. And today, 16, 18, and 20 will be sprayed. That's 16, 18, and 20. Those areas will be sprayed today. And then tomorrow will be the Cal Allen area with 1, 2, and 3. 14 and 22, these areas. 14 and 22. Those will be the target areas tomorrow. And Mayor, the fourth item is it's already been stated, but I want to state it again. Last week, I indicated to the council that we were not going to reach that 50% milestone. That was last Tuesday. We pulled out the Ouija board and came up with some new numbers. By the end of last week, it looked like we were clearly going to get there. So we did remove all restrictions on use of water last week. And that public notice went out. And as was testified to earlier by Dan, we're right at 50%, 50.2. So we're right where we needed to be. And then the final issue, Mayor, is one that we are working on diligently on the team, and that is to do with our utility billing. As I stated last week, we're taking a two-prong approach. One is what we're doing at the call center and our efforts over there. In the last month, we had 22,000 calls last month alone. So what we're looking to do is to deal with something in the immediate, to set up a team in the immediate at the call center to deal with utility issues. And it'll be a larger team. We're pulling from other teams within the organization to deal with that solely. We're hoping to get 10 up to 20. I don't know if we've got that many people in the organization, but certainly more than 10 that would focus strictly on that effort and those calls coming in relevant to the utility issue. And then what we will do, and we're hoping to get that started Thursday. We're hoping to move forward pretty quickly on that. And that's the immediate until other issues are resolved, until that call volume goes down. we will stay on board with that. The other thing we're going to do in terms of the calls on the long term, we're going to look and emphasize different things. We're going to improve our software. We're going to provide tools so that people can actually see their daily usage. And we do have that technology and that capability. We just need to implement the software to do it. And we're going to reconfigure the call center. That is underway to get more people into that facility and to allow for an onboard supervisor, a walking supervisor, so to speak, in there. Looking also for beefing up our education online service options. We want to make the public more aware of those services that are available to them. And then finally, the N4 issue. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we do have a representative from N4 looking to come in, and we've put together a team to identify issues, problems, obstacles that we've got in the system. We're going to identify as much of that as we can prior to their arrival next week. The mayor and I will be on a conference call with the CEO of N4 by the end of this week. And my hope is that we would have a presentation here at your next council meeting by N4 and from N4 to talk about the system, how it works, what's not working, what's failing, and where we're going from here. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Aren't the, Mr. Garza?
Mayor, there's no doubt in my mind that there's an issue with the N4 system, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get it fixed or whether we're going to need to go back to whatever we were doing before. Secondly, I think the other concern I have is the rate model, the rate structure that we adopted a year ago. We looked at last July, and then we adopted it in January. And I think there's problems with that particular rate structure that we adopted. And I mean, I'm just not only worried about those people that are getting overcharged, I'm also worried about those people that are not getting billed at all or getting billed a real low amount, because for those folks that live paycheck to paycheck, when you're going to go back to them and try to charge them for 4 or 5 or 6 months of either lower billing or no billing at all, they're going to have a real tough time. And so as the people were talking about that, and you know, to be specific, talking about putting them on a payment plan, that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, the suffering that we're going to put in the concern that we're going to put people through is just unconscionable. I just cannot imagine. I don't have the conscience to be able to figure out how we're going to be able to get past
Mayor,
this.
that's an excellent point. Mark and I have already started some discussions, and we're going to look at options that are available to either staff or the city council to reconcile some of these issues in terms of the anomaly impacts that we're seeing there.
I'd also like for us to see us going back to the old rate and go back to winter averaging. And I mean, I want to see us have that discussion, because again, if we do everything else and our rate, whatever we adopted in terms of what we use in terms of a rate model is not working, and it's going to cause us problems going forward for the number of people that we've caused issues with. I mean, I think that's something that we have to look at, what it would take to get there. You know, and again, I'm not prepared to ask the council to take a vote on that. Again, it's something that I'd like for you to be able to tell us exactly give us the information we need if we decided to go back that direction, because the hollering and the screaming that I'm hearing is just way beyond measure.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Mr. Selman, if we would change our rates, how long does that process take?
Mark can answer that much better than I can.
To fully implement it, I don't believe you could do it in less than 6 months.
Okay, and that 6 months doesn't start until we decide to do something, correct?
That's correct.
So every week we go by, that 6 months shifts week to week to week. Well, I would like to have that discussion. I supported winter quarter averaging on there, but I'm willing to take a hard look at it now, and I can't say I support it right now. That when the winter quarter averaging rate structure that we as a council changed in 2017, held the public hearings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that question, and then The other, thank you very much for the update. I would like to see it, this is a huge issue. We're all getting emails on it. We have people come up to the podium every week to have a weekly status report where we're sitting on this. We know on our bills that some are not footed properly. We know we have issues. So I think it's important to us as council, important to the public to be completely aware of it. So I would like to see the discussion, should we open up our rates? So we have heard it's a 6-month process to do it, that whether we do it on the next agenda or where this council feels. But again, thank you for the update. Thank you for the other good news items on that, Mr. Selman.
And Mayor, in response to that, we are looking at bringing you a weekly update. That's a great idea. That's not the first time I've heard that, and we definitely need to do that.
Okay, Mr. Garza?
6 months is too long. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna make an open appeal, just like I did at one time before, related to what it was gonna cost us to get our wastewater plant issues taken care of. But at this point, I'm gonna make an open-ended appeal. If there's anybody in our organization that can do it in sooner than 6 months, I'd love to hear that particular pitch. Because I think 6 months is too long for some of the hole that we're creating for ourselves and for the people that are out there suffering through this. 6 months is too long. I can't accept that.
Mayor, and I think what I'm hearing from the council is that this is something the council wants to discuss, wants to look at, and we can bring forward a critical path to the council on doing that. And then, as was mentioned, and I think speed is the essence, it sounds like, from the council. So the idea being that we would bring forward the most efficient and quickest methodology to implement.
Urgency comes to mind. Mr. Roy?
Again, thank you for the update. Whether it takes 6 months, whether somebody steps up and says it's 3 months, I think we really need to make sure that we have a plan in place now to address the people that have went along, felt that they were paying their bill appropriately, and then all of a sudden they're in a situation where their bill has quadrupled. You know, we've heard before in the last 90 days about people that their water's been shut off. I think we need to prepare now in the near future to make sure that we put something in place that is going to work with the people until we get this straightened out.
And to deal with those anomalies.
That's right.
Yep.
Ms. Wahardo?
Thank you. And I feel the same, and I believe I copied you, Mayor, on the email in asking what can we do and how do we go back to winter averaging a day or so ago. That said, though, you know, all of this we're talking about makes all the sense in the world, and it may not take 6 months, may not take 3 months, who knows, but it's going to take time. And here's how I see it as a taxpayer. And this is to maybe for us to do something here in terms of not a person on this dais understands how to explain someone's bill because of X amount of gallons of water. We know what those tiers are, but that's the difficulty. And we all know that, whether it be you going to your bank, you're going to your insurance company, you're going to whoever, when you're not understanding and the person can't explain it to you, and I'm not talking about staff, I'm talking about just us that gets the calls. It's very difficult to understand. I think that's the first. There's going to be time. There's going to be a time lapse, whether we like it or not, in what we're going to do moving forward. And I really don't know. I don't know, Mr. Selman, if somehow we can try and explain in general, because I don't know I know that's being done, and Mr. Grinsbow and his team, when they sit down with someone's bill, it is wonderful, but that takes a while. I mean, that people don't have time to come sit here, and neither does everybody here, and explain a utility bill for 30 or 45 minutes. I'm sure that's what it takes. So I don't know if we can somehow come up with your best presenter to give us a little bit of insight for the public, not us, to try and help them explain it. Meanwhile, we figure out what we're going to do to remedy this.
Okay.
Ms. Rubio?
Get your best person and have a video produced, put it on our channel to explain to our citizens how the bill works. I think that's basically what you're saying, Councilwoman Guajardo. You know, get your best person to kind of walk through every little step of how the bill works. And they might be able to understand it, but at least, and then maybe they might not, but at least it's an idea that we can get that information out, because they don't feel like it makes them feel like we're hiding something, that we're kind of putting, fees where they shouldn't be. So if we have someone, get your best person out there, put them in front of a camera, then put it on the TV to explain the bill, and maybe that will help. Thank you.
And public trust is paramount. You've touched on something
Absolutely.
right on point.
And we have that TV available for us, and that's a great tool. Thank you.
The only other suggestion I would have is that we need to cease and desist on telling people, get you a plumber, check you don't have a leak, do this sort of thing. We need to admit we've got a problem. It's not their problem, it's our problem. Don't be wasting money on a plumber. You know, if that man, or the man that I'm talking about that gave me his bill, that said in his office, there's 3 people in his office, and they have 1 restroom. They don't have anything else, it's the restroom. No kitchen, no other, it's just a small 3-person office. I mean, his water rates have gone from, 1,000 to 10,000, and there's just no explanation for it. It's not he's got a leak, we've got a problem. So I think we need to, 1, quit telling people they've got a problem, don't spend any more money on it. We are working as quickly as we can to get this resolved. And there needs to be, and this will give you a chance, there needs to be a plan to make some remediation or some adjustment, or however you want to phrase it, to folks that when it's all said and done, they will be made whole over time, not necessarily maybe refunds, but credits toward their accounts once we go back and rebuild the thing. But there's obviously a computer glitch, and when we get through with that phone call on Friday, we ought to have a whole lot better idea of where N4 is and how quickly they can get down here to get this thing resolved. But people don't need to come up and say, well, I had to call a plumber because your person told me to call a plumber, I must have a leak. If you've got a leak, it's going to be there after we finish the computer fix. So if you want to spend your money there, but we don't recommend that anymore. We've got to bite the bullet. It's our problem. It's not yours. And if they've got questions, we try to answer them. You need to deal with how you're going to communicate so people don't have this fear of having their water cut off if they're getting these bills for 3 to 4 times their normal use, particularly if they're 1 or 2, senior citizens living in a home. We need to cause any stress and this sort of thing, but we've got to get customer oriented and communicate that. But when we come back at our next meeting, which will be October the 8th, is that our next council meeting? Huh?
The 9th.
The 9th? I hope you'd have a kind of an update. We'll have the meeting with N4 on Friday, and some plans what we do to address the folks that have to make these adjustments in their bills and things. We're not interested in trying to get in anybody's pocket, but it's just a mistake. We got to admit it, and we're working as hard as we can to fix it. Okay, thank you. Are you finished with the manager's report, or you got some other things?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Nina will be presenting the CPR.
All right, okay. We may all be on CPR here if we don't get something fixed. All right, you're up.
Good afternoon, Mayor McComb, City Council members. My name is Nina Nixon-Mendez, and I'm Director of the Development Services Department. The mission of the Development Services Department is to administer the building and development codes and facilitate development in the city. The Development Services Department is responsible for development and permitting activities in the city of Corpus Christi and bringing together all the facets of the development process, including plating, zoning, building permits, and public improvements associated with land development. The department offers a one-stop service center and provides early assistance meetings to guide customers in the development process. Looking at our baseline information, you will see the first 3 lines reflect our operations. We have 63 full-time employees and have maintained that level of staffing over the last 3 fiscal years. We're funded through a special revenue fund, and the majority of our operations is supported by development fees. In FY 16-17, we received $6.9 million in revenues and had $5.9 million in expenditures. With respect to the funding of our services, we are currently undertaking a cost of services analysis to assess the current fee structure, and will provide that report in the upcoming fiscal year. If you look at the 7th line showing total permits issued, annual construction permits experienced a decline between 2015-16 and FY 16-17. This probably reflects local economic trends. And just under that line is the number of new single-family residential plans approved. In FY 16-17, new single-family plans numbered 897, down from 1,112. And the valuation of new single-family residential permits also showed a decline of $29 million in the valuation from 15-16. The market for multifamily is stronger than single-family currently, and this may be one of the contributing factors to this decline. However, this year we're now seeing a rebound. We have more single-family housing starts in FY 17-18, and we're going to be closing out at approximately 1,100 units. Next is the number of commercial construction plans approved. Although the number of plans issued declined, commercial building permit values increased $3 million from FY 15-16 to FY 16-17. And it's possible, again, that this increase in multifamily projects contributed to the increased commercial value permits. Now, the 6th line shows the trend for final acres platted. There was a decline from 713 acres in FY 15-16 to 370 acres in 16-17. 370 acres. This could be a result of our current development trend of platting smaller parcels and development, which results in a reduced acres platted. Now let's turn to our performance indicators. Number of plan reviews that are revisions. Our goal is to approve submissions the first time through the review process without a repeat submission. So we want to reduce the number of plan review revisions. For residential building plans, our target is 25% or less plan reviews that are revisions. This target is indicated with the black line. For residential, we're exceeding our target of 25%, and we're approving 82% of our submissions the first time through. For commercial, our target is 35% or less plan reviews that are revisions, which is indicated with the black line. We are at 51%. We had peaks in November, February, and June that did not meet our target of 35% or less. However, for 10 months, we were below our target, showing progress towards our goal. This summer, we offered designer workshops that address the plan review process, and we will continue to offer these types of outreach opportunities to our stakeholders to improve the plan review process and address construction code requirements. Our next couple of indicators focus on project management. Our project managers are assigned commercial projects to assist customers in the development process through early assistance and pre-construction meetings. We have 6 project managers on staff currently. This graph reflects the count of new commercial projects assigned to project managers by month. This averages between 15 and 20 new projects per project manager. The total new projects averaged about 117 per month over the course of the year. Again, these are in addition to the ones that are currently managed in their caseload. So typically a project manager manages between 400 to 500 projects a year, which include the new projects. So let's look at FY 15. From May 2016 to April 2017, there was a decline in new projects. In the fall of 2017, the number of projects dropped in September due to the hurricane, but rebounded in October through November. The spike in February 2018 shows increased permitting due to Harvey damage and numerous small cell node projects. The end of this year has resulted in approximately 117. The next indicator is early assistance meetings per month. Early assistance meetings are held prior to the start of a commercial project so that all pertinent departments are represented to address questions related to the project. Participation in early assistance meetings is voluntary. Our target is at least to have 40 early assistance meetings per month, which is shown by the black line. We average 32 meetings a month. In October, November, and February, through May, we had over 40 early assistance meetings. And again, the downward spike in September of 2017 illustrates the impact of the hurricane. We will continue to promote the early assistance meetings as a valued part of our customer service. The next indicator is average number of days for final plat approved by Planning Commission. Our benchmark should be 45 days or less from a complete application shown by the black line. This provides for 15 days for an engineer to respond to comments. As you can see, our level of service is not meeting acceptable standards as we averaged 83 days. This is in part due to one vacancy of a critical position which we have not been able to fill since February, as well as the need to improve our intake and review processes. We are currently in the process of revising our plat review process. We're undertaking process mapping, and we plan to implement a streamlined process early next year, and hopefully this will improve our time to get these projects to Planning Commission.
Well, you said you can't fill the spot due to shortage?
We've had a vacancy in a critical position. It's the engineer position that oversees the land development activities, so that's zoning, and that's also our platting process. The position became open in February. We've interviewed 2 candidates. We actually made offers, and both were declined. So we have re-advertised the position. It's an engineer 4 position. We're hopeful that we will be able to fill this position.
Okay.
And our last indicator relates to zoning. For zoning, our target is 90 days from application to council action, and for the most part, we're exceeding this target, averaging 66 days. In summary, the baseline data reflects current economic trends and the impacts of Hurricane Harvey. In FY 16-17, despite the reduction in permits, commercial values remain strong, and FY 17-18 permits indicate that single-family construction is rebounding. Our early assistance program is benefiting our customers, and we will continue promoting the use of the program to ensure smoother, more efficient process. We propose to add a new indicator for next year that measures the percentage of our total commercial permits that result from early assistance meetings to further assess the level of participation in this particular program. The department will continue to strive to provide a level of service that the community expects. We have identified the processes which require improvement, and we are committing to deliver a higher level of service next year. I stand by for questions.
I don't have any questions or comments. Well, I don't see any lights on, but I would certainly just encourage you as quickly as you can to fill that position and sense of urgency, because when people want to build a project, they want to build a project. They really don't care whether you can fill a position. They figure if you're in that business, you ought to be able to meet their permit requirements. Either you do them or get somebody to do them. But anyway, just I would just crank it up and try to get that filled and get them moving. Ms. Wartho?
Thank you. Ms. Mendez, why do you feel that, and I'm along the same lines, I think it's critical, more than critical, this position, it sounds like, to be filled. But in your opinion, what is it you think, what do we need to do to better to fill it or change?
Right. Well, we're certainly expanding our outreach in terms of the job search itself. I'm sure it varies from community to community, and our competitiveness with other cities is certainly, an issue related to this particular position as well. Many engineers are attracted to the private sector, and the private sector can offer higher salaries, and so, that is something that we're faced with, and frankly, all municipalities are faced with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think we all, as the mayor just said, it comes down to those wait times.
That's correct. And again, the process, we're really delving into the plat intake process, right. Our TRC schedules, our response times to engineers, and then of course their response time back to us. I think if we can go through, identify the primary issues related to our process, and make it more effective, that will certainly, offer more efficiencies.
But other than that, let me ask you, you're fully staffed other than that?
We still have some vacancies, but, I would say it's normal, but in particular with the land development section, most of the positions have been filled, so it's just that one key critical position that we're missing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Garza?
You haven't tried reaching out to some of the former, I know we had a couple of people that retired from that particular area, that particular department from the days I was on the planning commission. Have you reached out to some of those folks and see if there's anybody who would?
We have not actively done that, but that certainly is an interesting idea, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, she has the misfortune of having 2 assistant city managers and an interim city manager that have been in similar positions. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.